Hey, it's Elijah Winfield,
And it's Zach Mason.
and this is the More Than My Story podcast, where we give people the opportunity to share their story and where they've came from. Today we've got Chandler with us. You want to introduce yourself?
My name's Chandler Ruggles, from Portsmouth, 25. Recovering addict.
Yeah. So how did life start for you?
Man, life started for me. Grew up, spent a lot of the time, my childhood to myself, man. Early childhood, I was just isolated, always. But I never really knew who my dad was. And then when I found out who my dad was, it was shitty the way it worked out, because like he would always my brother knew him our whole life, but I didn't know him until I was 7, and then even after that he didn't want shit to do with me. So I just never really had that father figure, a child needed growing up. So I turned to the streets, man, the older people around me, but it wasn't the people I needed, and it just guided me in the wrong direction in life. Fucking I'm a cootie cuss on here, right?
It's all right. It's all right. So tell us a little bit about like how childhood was for you. How what you went through as a child.
So, growing up, we moved around a lot. And addiction kind of started really early for me, man, because I started, I remember this one time we went to Florida. I was like 9 or something. But my mom, she would just, any type of pain you had growing up, ear pain, leg pain, whatever, she just feed you a fucking Percocet. So
Wow.
I was just on perks early, and then I started smoking weed heavily. And
What
then it just
can you
progressed.
remember the earliest that happened?
The perks,
Yeah.
I was like 9. But I've always been around drugs growing up, man. My mom, she used to sell her pills and shit, and she'd have me run them down the street to the people before I even started running real dope around for the people on the block. Fucking, it's just always been in my household. My brother was an addict. He's the first person I actually really got high with. But like in my house, I think drugs was just how everybody coped. For
Mm-hmm.
real. That's how I learned how to cope with anything. Is just put dope on it.
And so you said that, like, you ended up finding out who your dad was around 7. So just dad was absolutely, even after you found out who your dad was, he was just absolutely not in the picture.
Nah, like it got to the point where even after the fact, like it went on for a few years up until I was like 11 or 12. But he would come get my brother and not get me. And then my mom told him, was like, well, you can't keep doing that. You can't keep coming to get his brother and not take him either.
Right.
So, like, I would be forced to go with him. So even there, when I was at his house, I still isolated a lot. I was still isolated a whole lot. So he'd spend more time with my brother. So it's just, I found ways to entertain myself, you know. The attention I'd seeked was negative attention, man.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if I would have found that one positive person in my life, probably wouldn't have went down the path I went. But in a way, I'm grateful for the path and the cards life dealt me, because I wouldn't be making the choices I'm making now to do what I want to do in life.
So, like, with, not having a dad around, because I can relate to that. My dad wasn't around, so realistically, like, I still wanted that love from, what could be considered like a father figure,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And in my neighborhood, like, I saw, drug dealers, they have the nice car, they got the women, they've got, money, you know what I mean? So, like, that's what drew me to, trying to become a dope boy, you know what I mean? So, like, because you said that you were getting really involved in the streets and everything. So what was that like? Like, because, was that similar because you didn't have a dad?
Yeah, that's kind of why I turned to the streets, man, because I didn't have that solid father figure in my life. So I would look around to the older people around me to guide me and shit, and the only people around me was dope boys. You know what I mean? And I didn't want to. My mom, she had different guys come in and out, but they was all addicts. Like, I mean, full blown addicts. Like, I get into fights with the dudes before school and all kinds of shit because they just be up all night tweaking and start accusing me of shit. So it was then I decided, like, I don't want that as my role model. I'd rather be the person that's making the money off of him. Because that's all I seen. Like you said, that's all you seen was the money and the nice cars and the women and shit. So that's what enticed me. Like, they'd have me, and it wasn't no, like, they'd have me run dope around, but, like, I was around out of town dope boys. That's who I, like, was around looking up to, having guide me and shit.
Mm.
So, like, they'd be having me run, like, big shit around town. So, like, I remember I was like 11 years old, dude. I made like $200 in an hour, and I mean that's fucking good money for an 11-year-old. You know? What
Yeah,
I mean?
100%.
Like, you're fucking rich, feeling rich.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I don't know. I just took off with it after that. By 12, I had my own sack.
I was gonna say, how did it progress?
Shit. By 12, I started selling weed, and it was by 15. I'm selling coke. And I had I had an ounce of fucking coke on me, not coke, crack. I had an ounce of crack on me at school, and hitting plays before school. I'd be out all night selling dope on the block, and then that's when I started doing coke. Was in school, so I didn't get in trouble with truancy and shit. So I'd go to school and do what I needed to do then, and
Stay awake.
yeah, and then get
Yeah.
out of school and go right back to the block. It was crazy too. Portsmouth's a fucked up place, man, cause after so long, bro, you start once you're selling dope, bro, you end up selling dope to people that you didn't even think would be doing dope, bro. Like, I've sold dope to teachers, all kinds of shit, bro. Like, and it blows your mind the amount of people you see on drugs. But me, I just didn't think nothing of it. I thought drugs was a normal thing. Like, the way my mind worked at that point in my life, like, everybody was on drugs. Everybody was doing some
Right.
form of drugs. And so I just seen it as normal.
So did you end up graduating? Did you end up getting through school even throughout all that
Yeah, I
chaos?
graduated high school.
Did you?
Yeah, I graduated 2018 at New Boston.
Well, that's good.
Yeah,
Even through all that, you graduated.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people can say
Yeah.
that.
I hated school though, man. Like, some people try to talk me into going to college and shit, but I wish I would have back then. But I also know if I would have went to college at that point in time in my life, I wouldn't have took it serious. It would
Right.
have just been another scheme for me to make money. Because what do fucking people do in college? They party. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't have took this shit serious.
Did
Well,
you do good at school? Like,
Yeah, there's a few areas I struggled in, man. But like, I looked at my transcripts the other day. I had to get that for work, and my grades that I had throughout high school, it kind of surprised me. I thought they was a lot worse than what they was.
right.
But I had a decent GPA. It was like a 2 something.
So you say you didn't go to college. What was the? How did life go after that? Like, after you graduated, you was actually on your, like,
Yeah, I thought I
grew
was,
up as an adult.
yeah, I was deeper in the streets, man. I moved out at 16, so like I was already taking care of myself and shit and paying rent and bills. But after that, I just went deeper. Like, I went from just running shit around town and selling dope in the community to I made connections now, and I'm grown, and predominantly the world, the community I involved myself in with dope boys was all black. So like I'm the one, I look like good ass white boys. So like they'd send me out of town, go pick up shit, bring it back. Like I was making trips to Jersey, bringing back fucking keys of dope and dropping it off here and there, and then taking it back to town. And then when I started doing my own shit, I was going up to Michigan and picking up trunk full of weed and X pills, and just I really dove in deep. That's when shit started hitting the fan. My coke addiction got really bad. Like I wouldn't get out of bed unless I found fucking an 8-ball to start my day with and a fucking couple Percocets. I wouldn't move until I found that. And my week consisted of making, I don't know, I'd probably make like 2 or 3 trips a week up to fucking Michigan.
Mm.
That's a lot.
Yeah, a lot of road running. Never had my license either, bro,
Wow.
until I got here.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Did you ever you never got pulled over?
I got pulled over one time. I was on my way up, so I didn't have anything yet. Uh, but I was driving under 3 different suspensions, which kind of blew my mind because like, how the fuck you gonna suspend a license I didn't have?
Right.
But I ended up going to jail for that for 60 days because 2 of the suspensions was jailable. So I went to jail in 10th in Ohio, Seneca County.
Well, so how long did you stay? Was your stay there?
I was only there for 60 days. It wasn't that bad. Plus, it
What,
was my first time in jail, so they put me in a trustee pod. I was in there with a bunch of people fighting like deportation and shit like that.
what happened after that for you?
Man, see, I thought I changed. I didn't. I wasn't going to quit selling dope. I knew that because at that point in my life, like that's all I thought I would ever be was just a drug dealer. I was content with that being the rest of my life. But I thought I was going to be done getting high. Nah, the minute I walked out that motherfucker, I popped a pill and started smoking weed. And it just took off again. That's when I started smoking crack. Was when I got out of jail, and that shit took off, man. That's what really fucked my life up the most. That's when everything started. I mean, everything was I thought was going uphill, but it was just stagnant. And then that's when I hit that downfall. When I started smoking crack, I
How,
lost everything.
how did you start? What? How did that start for you? Like, I mean,
Man,
what was the thought process? What was the interaction that caused that?
well, I at that point, like I was broke and shit, so I'm not. I'm hitting licks. All right, so like I was robbing people. I robbed a bunch of people at an ATM this night. The night I started smoking crack, I robbed a bunch of people at ATMs, and I was feeling guilty as fuck about it, but I also didn't get care at the same time. So, but like I was sitting there, like I said, I used dope to cope on everything. So I'm sitting there doing coke, and I ran out of coke. And I had a bunch of crack. I was like, fuck it, it's just coke you smoke. That's how I looked at it.
Mm.
It was way different. It was way different high, way different. Made you act different. You know what I mean? You never stop chasing it.
Nope. It
It's,
is completely different.
and it's crazy how it is completely different when it's still the same thing. It's
Yeah, but it just reacts different,
Yeah.
and it does take you different places, because I mean, cocaine it already drives you to do more,
yeah.
but crack is
It's like
definitely a
10
different.
times worse.
Yeah.
You do anything, bro. I fucking never stole from my mom before in my life until I started smoking crack. Uh, I remember I lived like the last year before I came to treatment. I moved back in with my mom. We lived in the same house for a year, and I only talked to her maybe a handful of times that year. I stayed isolated in my room, unless I was telling her good morning, I'm going to work, or bye, or like I'm back home, I'm going to bed. I wasn't going to bed. I was going in there fucking getting high. I'd go to work, and with my coworkers, we'd do coke, crack all day at work, and then my boss, he had ice all the time, so he gave me. That's when I started smoking ice, and he gave me ice, and I'd go home, I'd still have coke, crack, ice, and I'd finish it all. Wouldn't go to bed, get ready for work, start it all over.
Mm.
So I just had one mode, and that mode was fucking go. Yeah.
And how long did that last for you?
That lasted for about a year, and then what made me want to come into treatment, man, is I was sitting there holding my niece, and I had a mirror at the foot of my bed, and I was holding her, I was smoking crack at the same time, and I looked over and see myself in the mirror, felt like the biggest piece of shit. And then, like I said, put dope to cope, so I'll call somebody up, get more crack, go outside, get it, come back in. My niece is in the same spot, but she's holding my crack pipe, waving it around, and I was like, fuck, I need to get help. So I came to treatment
How long ago was that?
8.5 months ago.
How'd that journey start for you?
I don't know, it was rocky at first, because I didn't have the same mindset I had now when I first came into treatment. For the first like 2.5 months, I was like, I'm gonna just come get clean, get off the drugs, and go back to hustling like I was. But then something clicked, you know. It was like my 3rd month in, and I was like, I can't go back to that. I'm gonna end up, because what comes with that life ultimately is getting high.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you can't. It's very rare you see someone that sells drugs and they don't use drugs themselves.
Mhm.
And I just knew if I was like, my sobriety wouldn't last that long. So then I was like, I really got to change. So that's when I decided, I was like, I'm not going back to where I'm from, cutting ties with that. The only time I went back was just to go visit my mom when she's about to move in with me. And I just got ties with that place completely, man. And sat down and really thought. I was like, and all I could think of is how much, like I said out there, like how much harm I've caused people around me in my community just by selling dope and robbing strangers that had nothing to do with anything. I just robbed random people, innocent people.
Mm.
So that's when I was decided was like, what can I do to kind of counteract that? And that came to mind is give back.
Yeah.
'Cause I want to help. Like so, I just want to help people. I got my CDCA, waiting on the board to approve it, and then I just enrolled in college. I'm gonna work on getting my LCDCs to be a mental health counselor,
Wow.
which is
That's
ironic because
awesome.
I fucking hated my mental health counselor.
Yeah.
But
So what would you say that was there any like defined moment where that shift happened?
I mean, other than the niece thing,
uh,
'Cause I know
no, I'm
that-
talking about after.
like sitting in treatment and then
Yeah.
making that
yeah,
decision.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
the niece is that kind of situation gets you there,
yeah,
Right.
but there's a whole nother shift that has to happen while you're there to be like, okay, no, this is actually serious.
you
They're
guys know
gonna
Roy,
lock this
right?
in.
Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he was my RA when I got the Kents. I'm sitting there one night and I couldn't sleep, and so I'm just sitting in there collaring. And then he was like one of the only RAs there, so I started talking to him. I'm like, bro, I said, it's fucking weird sitting here right now. He's like, what do you mean? And I was like, oh, well, I was like 2 months ago, dude, I'm fucking robbing people at gunpoint at an ATM, and now I'm just here in treatment. I was like,
Coloring.
yeah, collaring at fucking 12 in the morning. Like, it's fucking, what the fuck am I doing, dude? He was like, bettering yourself, bro. He was like, that's all you need to know. He's like, you need to focus on not the past, but what you're doing right now and how you're going to change from the past. Like, Roy helped me out a lot. And if it wasn't for the RAs and the staff I had at that point in time, I probably wouldn't have made the decision to do what I'm doing now. That had a lot of influence on me. Like I said, I hated my mental health counselor at the time because I didn't realize what the fuck he was doing for me. But now I'm so grateful I had him
Right.
because it just changed my perspective on everything. He challenged everything I said I wanted to do, and he challenged it for the good because I was going to make stupid decisions again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came here too. Coming here was a big thing for me too, because at some point through when I was at the recovery council, I just felt like I couldn't find who I was when I got the transitional. I felt like I was just becoming what they kept telling me I was. Which, I mean, not throwing shade on them because I worked there and shit. I'm grateful for everything I learned while I was there.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed a different environment. And that's when I came here because coming here, it gave me enough time to myself to figure out who the fuck I am with my newfound sobriety and really settle into the decisions I'm making. And once I had that time to sit there and challenge myself and not have others challenge me, that's when I just knew. I was like, yeah, I want to help people. I spent fucking from 12 up until 24 just hurting people. And I've carried so much shame and guilt. It took me like 4 or 5 months to just accept the fact that I can't change that and stop letting it beat me up.
Mm-hmm.
It took me forever to get over that shit. I mean, I still feel like shit sometimes about it. Cause I've been in some shit, man. I've shot someone, and I just got a friend. He just went to prison for that, and I'm just sitting there like I felt shame and guilt for that, cause I'm sitting here on this whole new life path, and he's going to prison, and I did the same shit.
Mm.
So like I hold guilt and shame, which is like, why didn't I get caught when I did the stupid shit?
Yeah.
And then I got friends that's dying, and I couldn't go to their funeral. which I could have, but if I did, I know what the fuck would have happened.
Right.
I'd have just relapsed.
Yeah.
That was definitely something that I struggled with too. Guilt and shame can, for past mistakes and what's happened. Um, I mean, for me, it was just the understanding of like, man, I can't change any of that, but it's also like my cross and I gotta carry it. Like everybody else's, it looks different. So, you know, but what was really cool is that like right now, like you do have those experiences.
Yeah.
You have those things to express and talk about and helping other people that's also battling the same thing. Like
Mhm.
there's multiple different people that have guilt and shame because they've done some just horrendous stuff. Like
Yeah.
there's things that I've done, I know you've done that it's like, you know, I would not do that with the mind that I have right now.
Hell no.
Like that
It took
literally
me. It took me a long time to realize like that's not truly who I was. That was the
right.
drugs.
Yeah.
That was the hardest thing for me to grasp. Is
It,
that I'm not that same person right now.
no. Not at all. It's definitely taken. I know. Just speaking for myself, man, it's taken me into some places that, you know, is just absurd. Like I think of back, like, man, like I did that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? But it's really cool to, you know, have you be able to sit here and, you know, get vulnerable, talk about those kind of things because for real, there's other people that are dealing with the same kind of thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
That's why I like listening in the rooms more than I like talking. Cause like they say, man, it takes up until someone talks to you know that they're going through the same shit you're going through, so you're not alone. And that's when that was another thing that helped me realize like I'm not that same person as being in the rooms and listening to people with the more clean time that's had the same exact problems and experiences I've had in life,
Mhm.
Right.
but how they've overcome.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until recently, man, I took all that baggage and I'm not carrying it on my back no more. It don't you don't get rid of that, you know, because I mean you can't change that, but it's beside me, you know what I mean. Instead of me carrying it,
Right.
it's a different. It's
I
like a weight kind of.
I know at least from so I know you, and it's like what I can say is hustling was my first love, my first addiction.
Oh yeah,
Like that's what it
I was.
was.
I hated the fact that I got strung out on drugs, man. The money and the fast life. If I always told myself if I was to go back, that would be what I'd go back to.
And
Like ultimately, you'd end up getting high because, like I said a minute ago, it's damn near impossible to be a drug dealer and not have some sort of addiction. It
right.
doesn't have to be the drug you're selling, but you're doing something.
Yeah.
But what I've seen like in your life is that because I've had the same thing and I literally feel the same exact way and I see a lot of myself, you know, in you as well because it's like I was addicted to hustling, but then once I was able to transfer that over into like my environment now, my life now, like I've watched you like get your license back, get, you know, uh your CDCA, like you work in treatment, you're helping people, you know what I mean? And it's kind of the same concept. It was literally what you was doing out there, but legally. You
Yeah,
know what I
you
mean?
just take that ambition that you had out there, you take all that persistency that you was putting in the negative shit, and you gotta switch it and put it in the positive shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Because honestly, if I was to do what I planned on doing when I first came to treatment, which is just come here, get clean for 90 days, and then go back to hustling, I'd end up in prison. Because there's no way I could go back to doing that shit after getting away with so much shit for so long. Everything catches up with you, man.
Yeah.
Right.
Everything catches up with you.
So you've you know, today you graduated from here.
Yeah.
What would you say is, I guess, the biggest thing or what stood out to you the most that like you learned here throughout this process? Cuz I mean, like you're graduating today.
What this
Like,
place helped me learn the most is that I'm more than a drug addict.
mm,
That like the last place I was at, it just it got beaten in my head. It was so repetitive that that's all I'm gonna be is a drug addict. And but here it's not like that, you know. Like they tell you like, yeah, you're an addict, but you're not always gonna be an addict. You don't always have to say, hey, my name is Chandler, I'm an addict.
right.
Like that's my goal for real. Is I don't want to say that no more. I want to be a recovered person. I'm Chandler. I'm recovered.
Right.
And the stigma of being an addict isn't. It shouldn't. You shouldn't let that define you anymore. Like, yeah, your past is your past, but you shouldn't let that stigma carry with you through the rest of your life.
I absolutely agree. Absolutely. So, like, you're going, also, I mean, you have a woman, like, she has kids, they're not yours. Dude, that takes a real man to step up and do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, how is that for you? Because you're about to go into that environment, like,
It's I don't know. It makes me a little nervous. You know what I mean? Because I never I've never had that solid father figure. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
like, I don't know how to be a father, but I know that I also know what it's like to not have that father figure. So if I could step in and fill them shoes and be that figure for them kids, then that's what the fuck I'm gonna do. I'm doing it, and because everybody should have their parents in their life, man. And if you don't, like I have so much sympathy for that because it sucks, man. Especially when you like I grew up in a one parent household. My mom she worked 24-hour shifts, so like I know what it's like to be like that lonely child, to have no one to talk to when you need them the most, a parent there when you need them the most, and that's why I'm pushing so hard to get the case management so I can work day shifts so I can be there in the afternoons for them and shit.
right.
Mm.
That's awesome. I feel the same exact way. Not having, you know, really that father figure, that role model, uh, at least even if they were there but not present,
Yeah,
kind of thing. Uh, you know, I try for myself because my woman, she's also has a son that's not mine. You know what I mean? And like, I have such similar ways of how I treat, you know, a child that's not mine. Like, I didn't have a father figure. I don't want you to not.
go through the shit that I went through
Yeah,
trying to find that father figure.
right. Like, I just want to love on you because I know what it's like to not be loved on.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. And like growing up too, like it. I'm sure it's weird for them because their mom, she's had different guys in their life and shit, but they've all been like how it was for me growing up. Like every dude my mom dated, that I wasn't even allowed to be in the same room as them, and if I was, I couldn't talk. So even if I was still in the room with someone, I was still alone. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
So to have someone that's coming into their life and like, hey, I'm gonna be your dad, and they're actually doing the damn thing, like for me, I know it's very morally rewarding,
Mm.
but for them, I know it's bigger than that.
Mm.
It is. It's way bigger than that. Because also, like, even with, it's like the transfer of power, like, you know, you being in their life, and then like what you do helping others as well, like, you know, helping the youth and helping, you know, children actually teaches you how to handle, you know, people in recovery or
Yeah,
just regular people in
cause
general.
it's like babysitting, like being an RA. It's just like babysitting pretty much, and they're like teenagers, dude. A lot of them are. Some of them are. There's not all of them are, but a lot of them are. It's because they're still stuck mentally where they was when they started getting high. Cause I know how
Hmm.
I am. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Physically, I'm 25, but mentally, I still act like I'm fucking 16 sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So,
It's a real thing. That's for sure. Well, it's good, man. I'm proud of you. Graduating, especially not just graduating. You're going into a situation where you have people relying on you with a decent amount of responsibility to that, and you went and got your CDCA, signed up for college, going for your LCDC. That's amazing
Huge.
work. Um, you know, there's a lot of guys I see come through here who aren't even scratching the surface of that level of preparation. So I'm proud of you, man. Normally when we end this, we end it with a prayer. If you're okay with that.
yeah, I'm fine.
All right, Zach knows you pretty well, so I'm gonna have him pray over you.
Father, I come to you to lift Chandler up. As he's walking with you and trying to lean on you as much as he can during this space of transition and change, allow him to have the strength to persevere, stay connected, and just stay involved with everything that has got him up to this point, Father. I really appreciate you gathering us here this morning and allowing Chandler to present his experience, strength, and hope. And I hope this does help someone, and I hope it's helped him. Father, I thank you. And in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.